Hello, and welcome to today's Wellness webinar. My name is Shane Drosy, and I am the Wellness Coordinator for the National Alliance on Mental Illness in San Diego. I have the privilege of working on a team of inspiring individuals who devote themselves to empowering their community with cutting-edge technology, apps, training classes, and wellness resources. Our project is funded by the County of San Diego Health and Human Services Agency through the Mental Health Services Act. Our goal is the creation and expansion of opportunities for uses of technology and strategies which support culturally competent recovery and resilience. The services are provided to existing consumers and family members of consumers of the behavioral health services system. The project was aligned under the MHSA Capital Facilities and Technological Needs Plan and is called the Consumer and Family Empowerment Technology Project, also known as the NAMI San Diego Tech Cafe. Before I begin today's wellness webinar, I'd like to point out a few housekeeping tips. You will notice in the upper right-hand corner of your YouTube screen, there is an eye. If you click on that eye, it will allow you the opportunity to engage in a short poll. There's a link to the Tech Cafe website, and also the option of donating directly to NAMI San Diego. If you haven't done so already, we'd love for you to engage with us on social media. You can tweet us on Twitter, follow us on Facebook, or like any of our statuses or photos on Instagram at NAMI San Diego. Today's wellness webinar is surrounding the Independent Living Association, a program developed by Community Health Improvement Partners. The interview is with Alana Soltz, who is the Operations Manager. I hope you enjoy. Hi, how are you today, Alana?
I'm good, Shane. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. So to begin, would you tell me a little bit about your background and then what led you to be the operations manager of the ILA program?
Sure. So I've been working here in San Diego in social services since 99. I started, I think, January 99. And working in residential treatment with adolescents, and I worked there for 10 years. And then I worked with the homeless shelter programs in downtown for the last 7, starting with the ILA in July of 2016. So I have a really large background in residential treatment and housing. So it was kind of a natural progression and something a little bit different, an opportunity for me to grow and utilize my past experiences. So I'm really excited about joining the ILA and the new opportunities.
Very cool. So can you tell me what exactly is an independent living?
Yeah, so an independent living is a privately owned home or complex where they are basically renting out rooms. Their focus is with people who have mental illness or other disabling conditions, but really this housing could be utilized by anyone who would benefit from shared housing or communal living.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So is it a national program? How big is this program?
Okay, so the Independent Living Association, as far as we know, we are the first one in the United States. So San Diego County is the first to start this, and it is catching on and growing, and we receive calls all the time from different counties all over the United States asking about if there's this kind of stuff around the country. And as far as we're aware, there's not. So it's just here in San Diego. So yeah, it's just San Diego County right now. Alameda County in Northern California is attempting to start this. So they have been looking at our information, they've been talking with our agency, and they're looking to get it off the ground the next couple of years, I believe.
Okay. Is this privately funded or is it a county-funded program?
We are funded by the San Diego County.
So through the Mental Health Services Act?
Correct.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It was initially an innovation funding grant, or funded through innovations, and last 2 years ago, it was given continual funding.
Congratulations.
Yay.
That's amazing. Awesome. We're actually an innovations contract as well.
Awesome.
So when was it? Oh, I guess we just covered that, but it was introduced about 4 years ago, I'm assuming, if it was re-procured 2 years ago?
So it was created, the Independent Living Association, kind of the idea of it started in 2004.
Oh, okay.
So the idea has been around, and there's been a lot of players in social services and mental health here in San Diego that have been working on it, getting it off the ground, and they were funded by the Innovations Funding in 2012.
Oh, okay. So it was about 8 years old before it was
actually happened, yes.
Cool. So what is the difference between an independent living and then other types of supportive or permanent housing?
So independent livings, I would be careful about calling it supportive housing because it is very much the people who live there have to be independent. So they have to be able to take their own medication. They have to be able to make their own appointments and get to their own appointments. The person who runs the home or owns the home can't provide anything that's considered care. So it's unlicensed, unregulated, and so that's why there's so many of them and they're so easy to kind of start. However, we have to be really careful with the owners of these homes to make sure they know where that line is, that they can't provide any care. So I think that's the difference, is that it's an easier kind of option. There's a lot more of those beds around San Diego County than licensed facilities and licensed homes, but they can't provide any care. So it's for people who can live independently in these homes.
Okay. So who's eligible for an independent living?
Anybody. So as I said at the beginning, like, it's the owners focus on housing for people with mental illness, and the rents are usually between $750 to $850 a month. So for people getting Social Security, this might be a good option for them if they're comfortable living in kind of a communal living setting. But some of the homes are more expensive, and they may have family members who help supplement. Some people work while they live there. We've heard some owners house some students. Some homes are very focused on seniors. Some homes kind of focus on that transitional age youth category. So as long as you can pay the rent and you feel comfortable living in a communal living environment, you're eligible to live there by landlord-tenant law. But who wants to live there? It tends to be people who are on Social Security, who have some form of mental illness, and want a stable environment to recover from their mental illness.
Okay, so kind of the environment that each house has is depicted by the landlord specifically.
Yes, usually some landlords are very specific. Some are like, if they show up and they seem like they'd be a good fit, that's fine. Or, oh, we have this room available, there you can pay, all right. They move in. Some people are very specific. And we don't regulate that at the ILA. The owners that we work with, we don't get into their business about that kind of stuff. Our focus is on kind of the quality of the home. And when we talk about quality, we mean like the actual physical environment. So is it clean and well maintained? Are they provided the services they're paying every month? Like, most of our owners provide at least one meal a day. Sometimes they provide all three. So if they signed a contract saying they're going to provide those meals, are they providing them every day at the time they say they're going to? So kind of that physical environment, we're very focused on that, the quality of the home. We don't get involved in the business of who they take, and we don't tell them what to do.
So what would like a typical day be like, I guess, in one of these homes? Or is it kind of atypical depending on how the house is structured by the owner? Is that...
Yeah, a lot of owners don't have much structure, and some owners don't even live on site, and they don't have to because it's not licensed. These people live independently. Some have owners on site, some have resident assistants on site, and some have none of the above. So a typical day, the people do as they wish to do. Most of our homes that we work with, they provide at least 2 meals a day. So usually they're providing breakfast and dinner for their residents, and sometimes that means they prepare the meal and serve it to them, and sometimes it means they just buy the food, it's in the fridge, you make yourself dinner and you make yourself breakfast. So any of those options. Most of our owners don't provide lunch because a lot of their residents are involved in some kind of program. So they're gone for lunchtime. They usually get it in the clubhouses or whatever program they're involved in. Some work, or some are just out and about and doing their daily live stuff. So most of the days, I believe the residents are pretty quiet during the day. And some people are more homebodies and may stay home and sleep more, and depending on their medication or what's going on in their life, they may choose that. But the owners really, I don't think they get involved. Some do some like activities. Some people have groups come in and do things in the home, but again, those would be voluntary if the residents wanted to take part.
Okay. So what are the steps that one must take to apply for an independent living?
To move into one?
Yeah, to move into one first, yeah.
So to move into an independent living, it's pretty easy, and it's kind of up to the owner what their steps are. But we provide a directory of those owners who have joined our association. So they've agreed to our quality standards that we ask them to adhere to, and they follow through with the classes and the education we require. And once they become a member, we put them on our directory so people can look themselves, family members can look for homes that are members, service providers, so we work with the hospitals, the crisis homes, and the clubhouses, so they know, like, these are the homes that have been vetted, and we've looked at them, and these are the ones that are quality. At that point, the person who's looking for the home would have to contact the owner based on our directory, and that information's on the directory. Then they would find out, is there an availability? Is this home appropriate for them? Some homes are male only, some are female only, some are co-ed, some are TAY, as I said, some are senior. So it just depends on if this is a good fit, if it's in the right location, does it have a lot of stairs and this person's not great with stairs. So they take all those things kind of into account. We don't require, we recommend that our owners do some form of screening where they talk to the potential resident, let them answer some questions about their past living environment, what environments work best for them, some form of kind of getting an idea about that person. Then determine if that person's appropriate for that home, it's going to fit into that milieu. And depending on their availability, that owner could move that person in that day, if it's available and the resident's ready. Or they could say, this isn't right, this isn't a good fit for you and us. Or they'll say, you know what, I think we're going to have an opening, on this date. You can move in then. So it's kind of up to the owner what that process is. We don't tell them what their screening process has to be. We recommend they do something and get some idea, but we don't mandate that.
Okay. Is there a specific type of home that would qualify for an independent living, or can any privately owned home become an independent living?
Yes, any privately owned home or complex could become an independent living. Okay. So if someone wants to start this business and do the work, and it is a lot of work, I think a lot of people call us and they want to do it and they think they're going to make a lot of money and this is a great opportunity. I think what they find once they learn everything is it's not a huge money maker. In fact, most of our owners are, barely squeaking by, getting even. And it's, a lot of work. It's hard to run a home and be on call 24 hours a day and maintain a quality house. And, a lot of the residents are dealing with their mental illness and at different stages. And so it can be a very complex and critical place. So we just try and be honest with people who are interested in doing this. We want them to know all the challenges, but all the successes and the rewards that come with doing it, and then they make their own choice if they want to follow through and become an independent living owner.
So let's talk about some of those successes. So what are some stories that you've heard of positive that has come from somebody having an ILA?
Okay.
Or an independent living.
So one of our owners, she recently talked about this at our recognition lunch we had this week, how she herself has dealt with mental illness in her life, and she's an adult child of a parent who was an alcoholic, and she has a brother who's schizophrenic, and she's been very successful professionally in her life, and she learned about independent livings, and she's also very religious, and she was reaching out to people in her community, who's willing to open one of these, asking people, like, would you be interested in this? And then she said she realized, she's done asking other people, she's going to take it upon herself to do it. So she opened an independent living in North County in Oceanside, and her brother was one of the residents there. And then she got to some issues with the homeowners association, and basically they started to sue her and told her that she couldn't have this independent living up there. So she was going to fight the fight. She had hired attorneys. She put all this time and effort into it, and then felt like, it's a losing battle with the homeowners association. And she was actually going to start a board and care instead, because for some reason that worked under the homeowners association rules, but the independent living didn't. But so then she went out and found another home, purchased that home, and moved her independent living residents to the new home in Escondido. And it's this home that it's gorgeous, and it's up this gigantic hill. And one day we went there and we walked up this hill, and we were like, oh my God, I cannot believe your residents walk this hill every day. It was a good workout. And she was telling us how the residents that have moved there, like some of them have already quit smoking, have lost weight because of that hill. And her brother moved over there as well. And she's just had immense pride in being able to provide, this really nice house. She works really closely with the clubhouses in North County to make sure that her clients who are willing to take part in day treatment and day programs, they're going and they're getting their transportation. So I think she's really inspiring that, she decided to do this and got caught up in all the rigmarole, the NIMBYism that goes on, but she didn't let it get her down. She continued to push forward and did it, and even though it was a huge amount of stress and work for her, the new house is thriving, the people in the home are thriving, and just to see all that hard work come to this great end has been really inspiring for everyone. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, she brought us all to tears at the recognition.
You brought me to chills just now, so I can imagine that.
Okay, good.
That's awesome. So you've worked in housing in San Diego for a while now, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Why is something like the ILA important for San Diego?
So yes, the housing situation here for low income, the working poor is so difficult and just getting harder and harder, as we all know. And there's all these people out there, coming up with all these great ideas to solve the homeless problem and the housing crisis. But what it comes down to is even when they throw money at these voucher programs, when I worked with the homeless population, I had all these families who had vouchers, but no homes to rent with these vouchers because there were other people beating them out who made more money and, were more ideal candidates. And it was really heartbreaking. So coming here to the Independent Living Association, and we have all these homes and beds and potential places for people to stay, not families. These really aren't families, they're for singles in general. But it's really concerning, like, why are they not being utilized more for that population? But I think we're starting that conversation of, let's get people into these homes. If there's no other place for them, let's get them out of the shelters, out of transitional housing. So the way they're affordable, and they are good options for people who can live in communal living. And I don't think this is right for everybody. Not everyone's going to be willing to share a room or share, a breakfast nook in a living room with other people. I understand some people want their own place, and that makes sense. But I also see this as a decent option for a lot of people, and to at least use it as some kind of transition or bridge housing to the next step. And there's a lot of beds out there. Just in the Independent Living Association, we have 520 beds in all the homes that we work with.
Oh, wow.
And we're only 62 member homes right now, whereas we believe the estimate is there's somewhere between 200 and 250 or 60 independent livings out there.
Wow.
So there's a huge amount of homes out there that are doing this, and that's a lot of beds. And so if we can connect that and make it a viable option for all these voucher programs, for helping with the homeless issue, doing some kind of transition, I think it would be really helpful to the situation that's going on here in San Diego.
Yeah, that's definitely what it sounds like to me. So as part of your job, bridging those gaps and kind of helping. So you're saying that there's more independent livings than are monitored by your organization specifically.
Correct.
So is that something that you're doing, trying to bring them all in together, or can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so the Independent Living Association is for the owners who are willing to meet our quality standards.
Oh.
There are plenty of independent livings out there that are not members of our association for one reason or another. Maybe they don't know about us. Mm-hmm. Maybe they're not interested in someone coming into their home, looking at their stuff, giving them constructive criticism about how to make it better. They don't want to take our classes. And there are some homes out there that are not quality and we have concerns about. And as I go to the clubhouses and talk with people, there's certain ones I hear over and over again, complaints about. And so I know those are not quality independent living. So of course the people who run them, if they're still able to fill their beds even without being a member, then there's no incentive for them to join our program.
Right.
So that's why we do a ton of outreach with clubhouses, with discharge planners, with the hospitals, crisis homes, anyone who's working with this population. We're trying to reach out to them so they know that the ones who have joined, like, those are the ones we want them to refer to. We don't want them referring to any of the outside other independent livings unless they're quality, and if they are, then encourage them to come join our association.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what we're doing. We're out there and we're growing steadily every day, every year, but we also don't want to lower our standards. So if someone doesn't meet our standards, we're not going to lower our standards. We want to make sure that a family member could look at our directory and say, these homes have all been vetted by the ILA, so we know that they're quality. They may not be fancy. Not every home has granite countertops and, fancy appliances. Some do. I've been in some that do, and you're like, wow, this is amazing. But some aren't fancy, but they are clean and well. Our first quality standard is a clean and well-maintained home. So pretty basic. Like, we want to make sure people are taking the time and effort to keep them well-maintained. And that's an issue in these homes. It has been in the past. So when people do want to join, we work hard to help them become members. When we go into the home, if we see things that we don't agree with, we'll work with them to get to our standards. And I always tell the owners, like, we're not here to judge, we're not here to criticize, we're here to make sure you're providing, like, what we say you're providing. So if we can work with you to get you there, then we're going to do that. But if you're not willing to, then we can't do anything about that. Because these homes are unlicensed, they're not regulated, they can run their business without us, and that's fine. So we're more of a professional organization than we're not a regulatory body.
Right.
At all.
So I have a home and I'm interested in making an ILA. What would that look like, and like what would you come in and what's kind of like your checklist that you'd go through to vet my house?
Okay, so we actually have a very specific checklist that we go over, and we look for things like, does every bed have is it off the floor? Is it on a frame? Every room has to have a closet or drawer space for each resident. So one or the other. It doesn't have to have both, but one or the other for everyone. There needs to be one bathroom for every 6 people. That's pretty basic one. They have to have access to a refrigerator 24 hours a day, even if this owner provides all 3 meals. I'm trying to think, a fire extinguisher, smoke detectors, and a carbon monoxide detector. So, like I said, we're really looking at like the physical space of everything. And so we walk through the house. We don't ever dig into anybody's stuff, but we do a walkthrough, and we like to see every room in the home. So that's kind of our basic checklist. And if anybody ever wants to see our checklist, it's on our website. You can download a PDF version and see exactly what we're looking for.
Okay. And I'm sure you define clean or cleanliness as just like it doesn't smell bad, it looks like it's been washed recently.
Right.
Is that, it's not like it must meet X, Y, and Z to be considered clean.
It does not have to be immaculate. I've definitely been to homes where I'm like, this looks more like my home than than what, But also, people know when we're coming. We come once when you initially join, and then annually after that. So when we give people, a month preparation for us coming, we expect that they're going to make it shine a little bit more than normal. But I don't expect immaculate. It is very subjective, and so we take what we call our PRAT, our peer review accountability team, and that's made up of myself as the ILA staff. We also bring a consumer, so someone who is currently residing in an independent living or has in the past, and an owner. So one of our member owners comes on these visits as well. And so we get everyone's perspective. So after the visit, we go outside, we go over a checklist, we make sure we all saw everything, and we get feedback from each other. Like, what did you see that I may have missed? Did you guys feel that place was clean enough? Should we recommend, they focus on doing a deep cleaning in this bathroom? So those are kind of the typical things we'll see. We'll see like, oh yeah, bathroom number 1, it needs a little bit of attention. So we're going to recommend a deep cleaning for that bathroom. If there's some glaring ones, I've been in a home recently where they didn't have a refrigerator that residents were accessible to 24 hours a day, but they put out water and snacks 24 hours, And they were like, oh, that's fine. And we were like, no, that's not okay. Even if it's a mini fridge, there has to be a fridge where they can put something in there 24 hours a day that they have access to. So we were able to work with that person and make sure we're both on the same page.
Okay.
So little things come up. If there's some real glaring issues, we're going to talk to the owner about them and hopefully get them back on track. But we do lose some owners as time goes on. There are people who are like, nope, I'm not going to do that. And so we say, okay. Bunk beds is a good example. We say no bunk beds, where none of the homes are allowed to have bunk beds that are members of the association. And there's some people that, we hear through the grapevine, they run a really great home, it's very quality, but they have bunk beds and they won't get rid of them. They're like, nope. So we kind of determined, okay, then that's your choice and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of how it works. And we're also not hard and fast about everything. So we have another owner who does have a bunk bed, and he works with actually transitional age youth specifically. And the resident, his illness, for some reason, he likes to be perched up high.
Okay.
And so at night, he likes to be up top. So he's got a bunk bed in this room, and no one's on the bottom bunk. And so he could stay there, but he prefers to kind of be up top and perched, is the way it's been described to me. So we've made that accommodation. It's like for this one resident, this is better for him, and he states that. So we'll work with that. And the owners agreed that when this resident moves out, he will put the bunk bed back down.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's really
so,
cool.
You don't want to be hard and fast. Everyone's got what works for them, and we're not here to tell them what's best for them. So if we can work it out, but overall, we're kind of anti-bunk bed.
Anti-bunk bed. I like it. All right, so this might be putting you on the spot, but what are some of your, since I know that you have a vested interest in housing in San Diego, where do you think San Diego should be going with this crisis that we're currently at? And it's okay if you don't want to answer this. I understand. We can.
It's just such a difficult question.
It is.
I actually think they're going in the right direction. I like the housing first model of, no barrier, right? Or super low barrier.
Right.
Super low barrier. I think it's the way it has to go, and it's already worked in other cities. But the city and the county are going to have to get serious about making housing available to the working poor. And what are they going to do for the people who are working, full time, who still can't afford to reside in these homes? So affordable housing, and maybe even rent control. Because even right now we're seeing a huge increase in rent. Just everyone, all my friends and family, everyone around here is talking about it. And so, we're at that place where we're like LA and San Francisco, where, the working class people can't live here in the city anymore. And, it's driving the homeless population up, and it's driving all the working poor to further and further east and making it harder for them to get into the city, and our public transportation is terrible. It's just this, rippling effect. So I think the city is going to have to really fight to continue to get more and more affordable housing for those people and work on some kind of rent control is my best guess. But again, I don't work on that side of the fix it. But I do think what they're doing with, taking the vulnerability index testing for the people who are homeless and doing the vouchers, I think it's all from the right perspective. The rollout isn't as easy as I think they thought it was going to be. And, it's very frustrating for the people, I think, working in the social service industry. But I do think it's the right methods. It's just, getting everything organized and getting it all together. It's going to take time. But I believe in the system they've created. I am excited for what will happen in the future, and I'm hopeful. I'll say that, I'm hopeful.
That's encouraging. That's good. All right, and my final question for you is something I like to ask everyone that I interview. What do you do to maintain your own personal wellness?
That is a great question, and I think since I've been working in social services for such a long time that I have kind of created my own way of maintaining peace and wellness. Definitely when I was younger, I struggled with that and took work home with me, but I haven't in a really long time. But I try to have a really good perspective on life. I surround myself with friends and family and loved ones as much as possible. I try and go out and have fun on the weekends and in the evening times and not make work my focus. So at 5 o'clock or 5:30 when I leave, it's kind of like, okay, that stays there at work.
Mm-hmm.
And in my previous jobs, I was on call because I ran residential programs, so 24 hours, and I didn't have that option. So moving into this position, I literally can leave my cell phone anywhere and it doesn't matter, and that's a really beautiful feeling and
Yeah.
a weight off your shoulders. So that was a really good transition for me in my own wellness. So I think I try and be really cognizant about what's going on and what I need, and just try and take life one day at a time. And truly working with this population, this is the least I've ever worked with like the direct clients in my life, and that was difficult because I really love working with the clients. Like, that's the fun part. And the owners are lots of fun too. I don't want to put them down. They're a lot of fun too, but I do enjoy like the variety of this job. So that's been really great for me. So I think just kind of throwing the variety up, leaving work, at work, and when I'm out there on the weekends or off, like I'm off and I enjoy myself and try and just do good stuff and try and exercise and sleep and eat right too, all that good stuff. But all together, it kind of keeps it so that I'm, maintaining my wellness in this position.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining me in this interview.
Thank you, Shane.
It's been a pleasure.
I want to extend a warm thank you to Alana Soltz, Community Health Improvement Partners, and the Independent Living Association. Feel free to check out their resources at their website at ilasd.org. And finally, from all of us at NAMI San Diego, we'd like to wish you a happy Mental Health Awareness Month. Have a wonderful day.